Hey guys, welcome back to the Talking North podcast. I hope you're doing okay after what happened on Saturday afternoon, a 124-point loss to the Fremantle Dockers, arguably one of the darkest days in our club's history. Whew, that was certainly something. I feel like I actually went into this game with some optimism. In my preview pod, I considered it a free hit. Oh, jeez. I didn't think it would pan out the way it did. Not kicking a goal after the 7-minute mark in the second quarter is just unacceptable. And although Freo are a top team and, deservedly are first on the ladder, no matter how depleted a team is, no matter how low a team is on the ladder, that's not a performance that a fan base should ever have to experience, and it feels like there's one of these every year, and I thought we would be past that, after that 100-point loss to Geelong last year. I thought, hopefully that's the end of it. Clearly not. This was worse. This was an absolute disgrace, really. It sucks because there's been some really, really amazing moments this year. And we came off such a high just before the bye against Gold Coast, and to have to go through it again just sucks. And we slip further down the ladder. Our percentage dropped by 10, and with Carlton beating Essendon, we dropped below them on the ladder. And I think those slim chances of making wild card, I think I'm happy to admit that we're not making the wild card, and that's all right. But it sucks that it takes a 124-point loss for me to realise that. Really, really disappointing. And I had to take a few days just to not even think about the game because it would just ruin my mood too much. I wanted to film this right after the game, but I just didn't really believe it at first, and kind of was joking around about it, and it was kind of the only way to really cope with it because it's laughable, and it really does suck. And I don't think many fan bases can really relate to this experience of constantly, losing games by 100 plus points. And although it's the first this year, will it be the last? I don't know. I really hope it is. I really, really, really do. But I think whenever, a few weeks ago I said, after the Gold Coast win, this is the turning point. This is the turn. This is it. Nah, just straight back down to reality, which sucks. But it's just footy, right, guys? It's not like I dedicate my well-being, my life to it. I'm sure we'll come back in the next few weeks and play better than what we did, but it doesn't change what we dished up. As much as it hurts, I'm gonna have to go through the game and how it played out. So, first quarter was actually okay, to be honest. It was a pretty hot start. I think Freo went into the first change a goal or two up. We actually looked alright early on. It was midfield battle was pretty intense. With just a few costly turnovers early, got Freo up and about, and that was alright. It was expected from such a good team. Second quarter, we actually got close at the start, right? When Wardlaw kicked our fourth goal of the game to get it to 6 points, it's there's a game in this. And then they just piled it on us in the second quarter. It was very, very similar to that second quarter against the Crows. Just piled it on us, and we just completely lost our heads. Went into halftime around 50 points down. I think it was around that amount, which, geez, game's kind of already over. I was dealing with it okay. I was Freo are such a good team, and we're obviously off our game. But I was just fully expecting we'll come out in the second half, just like we did against Adelaide, and actually played better, despite such a horrible second term. We're not gonna let them do the same thing that they did in the second quarter for the rest of the game. But geez, I was wrong, wasn't I? We did not kick a goal for the rest of the game. That does not sound real to say. After that first quarter, we were absolutely nowhere to be seen. We barely got our hands on the ball. It wasn't just us turning over constantly, which is what we were. We just weren't getting the ball. We weren't applying any pressure. No one was in their right positions. It's just they had so much free space. And honestly, in that second half, I don't know why I kept on watching. It was genuinely just like a training drill. And, we had so many of the Freo players were just taking the piss out of us. Like Patrick Voss, he got like 4 goals, 15 score involvements. That fend off on Griffin Lowe was just humiliating. And it's just like, we're just a joke. Like, my God, they just had an absolute field day for you, and they were on, like, all credit to them, they were unbelievable, and they are such a strong side. But, geez, we made it so easy for them, and that sucks. It really does suck, and it just, like, feels like it takes away all the good work that we've done this year. It doesn't, because we still got 5 wins on the board, which is as many as we got last year. But it really just, like, stings that one, like it really feels like it's just halting our development, and the confidence is might be shot, like if we dish that kind of performance up, like who knows what we do for the rest of the year. Are we going to win many games for the rest of the year? Who knows? It is obviously a slight overreaction maybe, but there's nothing positive I can take away from losing by 124 points. And what's the solution from here? Do we drop a ton of players? Do we change tactically what we're doing? I don't know. My thing is, because the whole group is over in Perth, I think we can't really make as many changes as maybe people think we are. So we've travelled a few people over to Perth that weren't playing in the VFL or the AFL. So we got Tom Blamiers and Toby Pink. My guess with Riley Hardman going out with that concussion, Blamiers comes in. But we can't make these huge changes that people want after such a huge loss, right? Like, you swing the axe. Like, Saints in this recent week, I think, dropped about 5 players after the Hawks game, and clearly they nearly beat Sydney on the weekend, so it was the right thing to do. But the thing is, we can't really do that. I know people want us to, and I kind of do as well, but you can't, because we've got our whole squad over in Perth, and we're staying there till the West Coast game. Are we going to travel 4 players over to maybe play? Like, it's not realistic to make a hell lot of a lot of changes for the West Coast game. Because there's a lot that needs to be changed, personnel and tactically. So I'll go through like some of the positions, like what my interpretation of each part of the ground was. I think in the back line, I mean, their tools just killed us. Like we knew this would happen, right? Amos, Voss, Tracy are unbelievable players. Like, such a good forward line. But it was just, it wasn't even like a task for them, really. I think Comben went down early for a concussion. He missed about a quarter, and McDonald ended up being matched up on Tracy at times, which just did not work. But Will Dawson moved back for this one. He didn't play at all in the ruck. He looked absolutely at sea. Like, he's a young player, and he's building his game up, but he's clearly not at AFL level yet. He looked pretty lost out there. I think Logue was fine, but again, he had some moments where just whoever he was on, I think Voss for a fair part of the game, he just kind of made it look easy. Voss, like, he had probably his best ever game. But the main issue probably was actually our ability to deal with their smalls. Sam Switowski, he got off the leash a fair bit. Michael Frederick on the wing, I think he got 2 goals in the first quarter off Stevens by just outrunning him. Like, Stevens is our best runner, and Frederick was just making him look silly down on that wing. Murphy Reid, really talented. So the backline got slaughtered all game. I don't think many of them had a good game. But I don't think the backline could do much with, the amount of entries they were getting. I think the real issue was probably the midfield. Tristan Sherry had one of his worst games in a long, long time. Luke Jackson absolutely dismantled him. I mean, Luke Jackson's one of the best players in the league, for sure. But Sherry's one of the best rucks in the league, right? Like, it wasn't a lack of effort and a lack of competitiveness. It was just he was just getting beaten like quite convincingly. Centre bounce work is a huge issue. I think I mentioned this last week with Tristan Sherry. He's really struggling at the centre bounces, and the only way we were really winning centre clearances was through Cooper Trembath being in the ruck. And love Cooper and his work, but we can't play him in the ruck. Like it's just going to stunt his development, and he's so much better forward that if we're relying on him for the centre bounces, we might have to look at other ruck options because Sherry is not doing what he needs to do in the middle. And the new rules have clearly, messed him up a little bit, but I just want a little bit more, like, at least go for the ball in the middle. I feel like he just stays down or kind of does a half-ass jump. Like, yeah, I think that's becoming a real issue at the centre bounce stuff. And we did miss Finn O'Sullivan, that's for sure. And it sucks that he got that concussion from Sherry at training. And, no blame on Sherry, all accidents happen. But it really does suck that Finn O'Sullivan was out. And that paved way for Colby McKercher to play in the middle most midfield time he's ever had. And it was not great. It wasn't a great performance from him. He really did struggle with, his work in the middle. I think, he got 19 touches, which sounds okay, but, 3 clearances, it's all right. But what I noticed a lot was he was trying to fend off and break tackles constantly, and I just don't think he was using his skill set properly. I think he's such a fast player. He doesn't have crazy upper body strength. He's not a big guy. He's trying to fend off and swipe away these tackles. He just needed to run through and try to break lines. I think he was overcomplicating everything, and I think it was a clear sign that he hasn't played much midfield before. I think it was definitely, he showed his inexperience, and I guess that's what happens when, one of your best midfielders goes out. You get someone else in there. But the thing with Colby, in his, before his draft year, he was, the best midfielder in his draft class, and we drafted him as a midfielder, played him on the half back, to develop him. And Saturday was his first proper go in there, and he looked so lost. And I don't blame him for that. He clearly hasn't been playing there much. And he definitely learned a lesson, and I wouldn't, drop him or anything like that, but I don't think he's ready for that midfield role yet. With Finn O'Sullivan out against West Coast as well, do we try him again in the midfield? I'm not sure. But yeah, overall the midfield battle was pretty dominant from Fremantle. I think Luke Jackson was probably best on ground. He got 2 goals and 3 goals, 19 disposals and 22 hit-outs. Exceptional performance from him. But, the midfield battle overall was just extremely dominant from Fremantle. And then forward line, there's not much they can do when it's that dominant, but I think there's some real structural issues in the forward line right now. I think a lot of people would agree. I think the form of our captain, Nick Larkey, is definitely something we need to look into. And I've mentioned it a little bit over the last few weeks. Is there a knee injury? Is the injury that he picked up last year still lingering? I don't know. I think he would be out of the team if I think he'd be resting if the knee injury was that bad. I genuinely just think he's out of form, and I genuinely think he's so... It's weird to say, but he might be low on confidence, which is not something you want from your captain at all. And I love Nick Larkey, and I'm still happy we picked him as captain because I think he's a great leader. He's a great, person in the media for us. But you can't have your captain dishing up some of the performance he is dishing up at the minute. And it feels harsh to say, but he's seems a bit scared sometimes in contests. He is struggling maybe with the responsibility of being captain, just like Jai Simpkin and Luke McDonald were when they were captain. But I think, Larkey's form is a big concern, and the whole structure of the forward line is just so off. What I mean by that, I feel there's a lot of those boys in the forward line are jumping at the same ball. I think Zane Dersmer and Zurha can't be in the same forward line. I think they're too similar of players to play in that same forward line. But I also don't think Zurha works back. Curtis is having a bit of an off year. Yes, he's kicked 22 goals, I think, and he's getting a fair amount of score involvement, but he's struggling to get involved in games at times. I think Trambath is obviously an up-and-coming player, and looked really good. I think Darling's holding his own, but the structure just looks so off, and obviously the entries inside 50 don't help. We are probably the worst team in the league at entering it inside 50. Just long bomb, it's not working, but I think we need to maybe look at what some other teams in the AFL are doing at the way they're structuring their forward line. You look at Hawthorn, right? Gunston and Hardwick. Usually Gunston is one out in the goal square, and his running patterns are incredible, and what he's doing at his age is very impressive, but the way the Hawks structure around him allows him to kick that amount of goals, and I think we could try something like that with Zerha or Larky. We need our players in one-on-one situations more. I think too many times it's all of them going for the same ball, and then the defence cleans it up, and it happened countless times against Fremantle. We need to restructure our forward line where they're leading to different parts. We need to go a little bit more traditional with this, I think, which feels weird to say, but we need someone one out in the goal square. Isolate a player, like we did with Zerha against the Suns. Isolate them, put pressure on his player to have to maybe give away a free kick if he's in a vulnerable position, like it happened when Zerha kicked the winner against the Suns. Isolate a player out in the forward line, and I think we need to be a little bit more creative with the way that we're structuring our forward line, because I think we're kind of just hoping that Trembath or Dersma takes a miracle mark and then a small forward cleans it up, or Larky gets out on a lead, but there's just no point of difference in our forward line at the minute in the way that we're kicking to them and the way they're moving, and it's becoming so predictable for teams to figure out, and a good defence like Fremantle is going to just figure us out so easily. The Suns folded under pressure in the second half, and that's how we were able to score, and I think looking back now, that result has kind of covered some of the cracks, because the signs were there in that Gold Coast game. That first half was awful. We got killed at centre clearance. The forward line wasn't working in the first half. The back line was vulnerable. We cleaned it up a bit in the second half, and Gold Coast faded, and we miracle win. That first half against Gold Coast was exactly what happened against Freo and exactly what happened against the Crows. The signs were there in that Gold Coast game, and I think us winning that game, as amazing as it was, kind of covered up what has been going on, and our form since arguably that Richmond game where we beat them by 75 points has been very concerning. We've won one game since then. I think that was round 7, I believe. We've won 1 out of our last 7 games or something like that. Yes, obviously against good teams, but there's been these recurring issues, I think, all boiled up to this Freo game where just everything fell apart. And you'd think that by the round before this Freo game, we would have been able to clean some stuff up, restructure the forward line, just kind of fix these issues that have been happening. But I think we got a bit complacent after that Gold Coast game, if I'm honest. Amazing win. Really, really incredible stuff. Really great experience to be there. It was a hard goal after the siren. But I do really think that win kind of delayed this result, and the Freo game is the result of us not changing things that needed to be changed, and we got Freo on a good day and we were horrible, and it ended up going the way it did. But in saying all of this, it's not season over. Absolutely not. We still have 5 wins, 5 and 7. It's not that bad. It's still our best first half of the season since 2019, I believe. We have a favourable fixture coming up, and I don't think we're going to know truly who we are as a team until we come up against another good side. But what we show after this Freo game is so important. We have some bloody winnable games coming up. West Coast next week. Our home game, obviously in Perth. We lost to them last time. Must win, let's be honest. Really sad to hear, but Ruben Jimby from West Coast, their best defender, one of their best players, their captain, is out. that is a huge out for them. They're not going to be anywhere near as strong as they've been without him. If we can't beat West Coast without Jimby in their team, that's pretty bad. And I think that's when the alarm bells really go off. We then have Richmond, Essendon, Port Adelaide, Collingwood, Melbourne, and St Kilda. If you look at our form earlier in the season and when we play our best footy, there are so many winnable games there. But if we play the way we did against Freo, we're winning none of those. But we can really make up for this loss against Freo by going on a run. And I bloody hope we do, and we have to, really, I think. And we have to show fight. We have to show, this might sound a bit cliche, but we've got to show this Shimbona spirit, because that was so lacking against Freo, and it was really, really, really disappointing. But we've got some games coming up that we can really turn our season back round. But yeah, that was a bit of a messy one, that episode. Pretty unscripted, unstructured. I just wanted to get the feelings out there, wanted to, acknowledge that performance wasn't good enough, but also it's not season over. I think I trust this group. I trust Clarko. I believe that we can turn it around. But yeah, we've got to accept that performance against Freo was not good enough. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll have another episode out soon previewing the West Coast game. So stay tuned for that.